to be real careful in looking at all of your employees and determining which ones fall into the safety sensitive. That's the most important thing that you would, other than finding a vendor, you know, that give you a good price. Those are your two big concerns.
So what we would do.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, and you know, I really appreciate your legal work on this. I think we all are concerned that we want safe employees. That's for the sake of our own fellow employees as well as the public. And from the discussion, it would appear that there's an interest in proceeding with some form of policy. It's just a suggestion, it's not a motion. Would you, with the consent of everyone here, take a look at this and possibly bring back to us, and I'm really talking general terms here, and we might just need to continue to discuss this because we certainly don't want to move and do something wrong by motion.
Well,
but as you said, to identify and then to legally follow with a policy and procedure, because I think the consensus is we do need to apply a policy that ensures that our employees are safe to do their job. And how we do that is just the question, not the general disposition that that's what we want to do. It's now how we do that. And as you say, identify those who we legally can and cannot, and develop a policy that is appropriate and legal. But while it protects, which it has to legally, but to proceed in some manner to make this, to move forward on this.
Mr. Attorney, you did advise that we could implement a pre-employment test for applicants that prior to starting work could be drug tested, correct?
We already
We do that.
We do that now.
Yeah.
With
that now.
everyone.
Yes.
Everyone. There's a pre-employment drug test.
Is that policy?
Is that, and we have that in our county policy?
Yeah. Everybody signs it. Yes.
So what we do now is.
Are we doing it, Douglas? Okay.
So with the health department though, it's not done through anybody outside. So.
And do we monitor, is it a urine test?
Yeah.
Do we monitor that? I'm not trying to, okay.
No, I know.
Because I mean, there is such a thing.
Oh, yeah. We do not, that I'm aware of.
So basically what we need to do is Commissioner Gentry's discussion. What we need to do is decide who is in a safety sensitive function and then adopt a program for those positions, correct?
I would tell you to go through and get a list of your county employees and see what their jobs are and check off the ones that you can randomly drug screen. That would be the first step. Then the second step would be to need to check into, depending on the number that you've got in there, what kind of drug testing are you looking at doing? Are you looking at, you would have to hire a company who is going to do the random drug screens.
Yeah.
And what do you want? Do you want 5-panel urine sample? Do you want a follicle test and all of those? And probably once, get some prices.
Yeah.
At what it's going to cost. I have no idea what it would cost to do that. It may be prohibitive. It may be very reasonable.
Okay.
Well, one key thing that I think is important that Donny mentioned that none of us have really asked about is Donny mentioned that your human resources director needed to do this. For consistency purposes, I mean, I personally think that a human resources director would be key to implementation of something like this. Otherwise, you've put another thing on your county manager that takes him away from county management duties and in making him a de facto human resources director. So, You know, I'm not against trying to squeeze everything we can out of Forrest. I mean, he's young, he's got, you know, he can handle it. But on the flip side, we don't want to burn Forrest out either.
Right.
So from that standpoint, I mean, to me, I think personally, I think it's a great idea, but I think the two kind of need to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we're
we need to
already
look
in
at a
those.
lot of things.
And
We
we're
do.
already, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead.
We need to look at who's going to do it. You know, supervisors have to have supervisory training, and that sort of thing goes hand in hand with it. So, you know, you're taking 250 something employees and looking at each position and deciding does it or does it not. You know, that's going to take some time in order to do that. So, hopefully, you know, by end of the year we can have something. I mean, that's where we're headed. It's probably going to take that long.
And notice to county employees, get it out of your system now. So, you know.
And to follow up on the human resources thing, that we know that's in our discussions as parts of this, is continuing part of that as well.
And I can throw some other, I mean, what you're really after is a drug-free workforce.
Correct. Yes.
That is right.
Yes.
You, one of the things that you're missing is an HR director.
Yep.
You're also missing the training that an HR director would take to the employees and the supervisors and their directors. There are, you know, things that you can do that directors can do, your HR person can do to focus in on potential drug use in the workplace. There's signs out there. You can take these courses and, you know, you have employees who consistently come in late, consistently leave early, have excuses. You can, you know, those are your first signs that are coming in. So if you have a person who can do this, and all you got to do is see those signs. You don't need a random drug test. You go there to them and you say, hey, here's your cup. You know, let's see what's going on. That can save you a lot of money without the random drug screening, but that is a program in and of itself.
Well, and that's just a further step down this road toward human resources.
Mhm.
Yeah, just another block, brick of the
And
wall.
that's, you know, if you want to do both of those, you know, whatever you
Oh, yeah.
need to do to have a drug-free workplace, that's what you're after.
Okay. We'll look into that.
All right? Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
I don't have anything else. I know we've got a little work to do as a board on this, and we will, right now, we're in the middle of our budget work, so after we get through the budget, we'll look at the drug testing program.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you.
If you'll flip back to tab 7, Connie Harris had a note. Leave Donny couldn't be here to present a resolution declaring the month of May Vulnerable Adults and Elder Abuse Awareness Month. I don't know if the Social Services Board has voted on this. They have voted on this,
Yeah.
recommended to the board. May 8th through June 19th be proclaimed Vulnerable Adult and Elder Abuse Awareness Month in Madison County, and call upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to participate in community efforts to support and improve the safety and well-being of vulnerable and older adults and secure their right to live free of abuse, neglect, and exploitation.
All right. Any more discussion for Forrest on this resolution? Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution for Vulnerable Adult and Elder Abuse Awareness Month? I have a motion by Commissioner Rice for the approval of the resolution. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right.
Sorry.
in a town inspector. Fire. It's 2 pages each.
Hey,
We had discussed this either one-on-one or informally before, but the fire inspections of our school buildings require someone with level 2 inspector certification. That is a requirement that we had when we posted our emergency management and fire marshal position, but it's unusual to find that person who has that, and we gave a certain amount of time for that, for receive that certification. Schools have to be checked twice a year, spring and fall. Eddie Fox has that certification and actually has done it in the past when he was employed by the town of Mars Hill, and Mars Hill basically loaned it to us to let us do that. But since he's retired, he would like to be paid understandably for those services he provides. This is a contract that Mr. Laws has drawn up that would authorize Mr. Fox to do those inspections. They usually happen over about a 1.5-week period, so we're talking about a minimal amount of money,
okay.
which Darlene has moved in the budget amendment, which you'll see later.
All right. I think everybody on the board is familiar and knows Eddie Fox and knows that he is a very qualified person for this. So I don't think there's any question in that. Any other discussion or question for Forrest on that? Okay. Do I hear a motion for the agreement for fire inspection services contract?
So moved.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion, Commissioner Gentry, for the agreement for the fire inspection services, second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise.
Next document we discussed during closed session on the budget meetings, our new solid waste director who hired at the end of March, James Harris, has accepted another position in another, with another employer and is no longer with us. He did a great job in the brief time that he was with us as full-time director and has agreed to continue in a part-time basis as a consultant to come in and sign off on invoices, oversee general operations that go on, and sort of contribute to a shared effort where I would be there sometimes, and we have some people at the landfill that will be supervising units that they're already over. Any questions you have about that or concerns? This would be until the position, until we find a replacement, that position's been posted.
Okay, the position has been posted, and so we're looking at just a rough estimate, Forrest, of how long this might go on.
I would hope 60 to 90 days.
Okay.
If we get 3 or 4 wonderful applications next week, we say 3 weeks, but unlikely. And I would say that on a weekly basis, we'd be looking at probably no more than 8 hours a week, probably less than that he would be providing his services, sometimes remotely. And he's already been, this week, we're kind of operating this way and seeing how it goes, and things are going just fine.
No conflict with his employer?
No.
Okay.
And some of the things that he was in the process of implementing, we talked about the steel-toe boots, and uniforms, and that kind of stuff. Are we proceeding with that?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any more questions on this? Do I hear a motion for the agreement for solid waste management supervisor?
So moved.
Second.
For part-time? Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
By Commissioner Wechtel for this contract, a second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
Some updates for you from last meeting, things we talked about. This is a handout just for your information. We had talked some about road construction and the transportation formula for last meeting. A few weeks ago, I met with Town of Marshall, Town of Mars Hill, and Land of Sky Regional Planning Organization and DOT to talk about projects in Madison County and ranking those with local points at the division level. So we're in Division 13 of transportation. There's a division pot and there's a regional pot under the formula. Regional funds is two divisions combined. So that's Division 13 and then Division 14, which is Henderson, Transylvania, and Haywood West. And then 13 is Madison, Buncombe, McDowell, Yancey, at least those, maybe some more that are farther east, but nothing that far east matters really. So we have, they're getting the freeway anyway. So we have this with us, and basically what you'll see is it's complicated, and I've tried to do it pretty simply, but on the right-hand side, you'll see a local priority rank. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4th column from your right. We looked at each of the projects that had been on the list for a number of years. Some projects go to division level, some projects go to regional level. So the Spring Creek Connector, which you talked about at your last meeting, is a regional project that will be scored later. I did look at how it scored. It scored a 5 out of 50 based on the criteria that they have developed. That's a mix of the state criteria and the local criteria that's been adopted by the board in the region. But the projects that we had here in Madison County, the first project received 20 extra points. First and second projects received 20 points. Third and fourth received 15. Fifth and sixth received 10. So we basically looked at the projects that were the closest to scoring well to begin with to make sure we put our points where they would move it up farthest, because we are scored against those other counties that I just mentioned. So looking at that, US 2570 from Mashburn Hill to Brush Creek, that is one that's relatively new. We're not talking about widening that to 4 lanes. We're talking about looking at turn lanes, potentially a passing lane somewhere in each direction, evaluating that. That scored the most points. Number 2 was US 2570 from the end of the current 4 lane there at Tillery Branch to Smith Hollow. That's basically coming across the bridge to right here. We have some news on that. We had talked about a turn lane at Long Branch. We've broken this up into smaller projects to see if they'll score better. DOT is able to fund a turning lane at Long Branch that we should see construction on very soon.
Good. That's a real safety.
And also realignment of, which is just restriping out front here to make a left turning lane if you're coming from the bypass.
That's good.
208 from Millville to Belleville was number 3. That scores. The difference in number 2 and number 3 and how they score regionally is pretty significant. It is really hard to get that project, which we've tried to emphasize the thoroughfare to Greenville and the importance of that. So far, we haven't had a formula that recognizes that. So we're still working on that. 209 from Trust to Hot Springs was number 4. 208 from Belleville to the state line was number 5. And then number 6 was basically the bypass from Smith Hollow to Mashburn Hill. We deliberately ranked that one low because we have a 2-lane road with a center turn lane, and if we get that road any wider, we're going to wipe out a lot of businesses. So until we have a real problem there, we probably want to just be happy with commerce.
Right.
So that's where that is. The RPO board will meet in June with a public hearing to look at how all the projects rank in the region, and I'll keep you posted on that. The Crossroads Parkway in Mars Hill, we've received funds, received word that has been funded by the Appalachian Regional Commission. That's a grant that will go directly to DOT since they're the ones who build roads. They'll be able to build that road with existing right-of-way I know that Commissioner Bridgman was active with this probably about 2 years ago through his role on the RPO board, and working with the town of Mars Hill, finally got a project that's been talked about since the road was built 20 years ago. That will provide a frontage road from exit 11 to exit 9 that will be very important to commercial development as well as industrial development, because it provides better access to advanced super abrasives and other potential properties. Don't know what the timeline on construction that is. And we had talked last month also about the overall formula and how it works. You know, I think it's important to emphasize the formula puts in reality what's probably always been true. You know, if you always rank things based on traffic, we're always going to be one of the last counties to receive something. The key is, how do you get those pots of money that are there that can be discretionary? Problem from the state level is discretionary inevitably leads to questions of fairness, and there have been issues over the years. You know, at one point, members of the Highway Commission had a pot of money, and they could personally go out and say, we're going to do this here. That led to a lot of good projects and led to some problems throughout the state as well. So that's been eliminated. Actually, the previous administration eliminated that, and the new formula goes farther. But I met with the lobbyist for the NC Association of County Commissioners. They were in town the day after our last meeting, and that person also happened to be the former legislative liaison for Department of Transportation, and is very familiar with the formula and how it went into place. And I emphasized to her the challenges to a rural community. She understood those, and I don't think the NCACC is going to jump in the middle of that. But what she did say is she thinks it'll probably be 2 or 3 long sessions, because there was so much trouble to get a new formula passed before there's any significant change to it. It would see us having money for things beyond turn homes, things like that. But that's we're talking 4 years there, if that's the case. Any questions on transportation projects? You had passed a resolution at your last meeting about connecting C funds for AB Tech. As you'll recall, the initial round of projects, AB Tech is getting $5.4 million from that project. Initially, the AB Tech board was presented with a list of projects that included a couple of $1 million worth of projects in Buncombe County and $50,000 for gutters here at the Madison campus. You all passed that resolution, and I understand this matter was discussed at the AB Tech board meeting last week, and I met yesterday with President King from AB Tech, partly in response to the resolution, also because a project that they funded in Asheville was kicked back by the state because it was sounds like an administrative building, wasn't direct student service, it's not eligible. So that was a big project by the state saying you can't do that with these funds. That frees up more money that can be used at the Madison campus. So the current list includes the gutters, the replacement of the HVAC system, upgrade of the electrical system in the welding shop, and the refurbishment of the restrooms. That's estimated, rough numbers at this point, to be about $400,000. And then Buncombe County evidently has an engineer, and they're going to have their engineer come and evaluate our building and determine what else we may need. Dr. King sounds very willing to work on renovations, those sorts of things. I think that's a fair way to move as we start with this process, but I told Dr. King yesterday, and it's up to you all to determine whether this is appropriate. There's a chance for expansion here at this campus of services, and that may require space. And with some of the sales tax money available for that and the bond money available, this may be an opportunity that we may not have for a couple of decades to really look at some expansion here. I've requested that we have a meeting with a couple of the commissioners, a couple of the AB Tech board members, Dr. King, myself, whoever else needs to be there to sort of talk about the long-term plan, and starts with dreaming, and then you see what the reality is for this site. Dr. King said he's always happy to meet that way. He responded to an email Dave said that, of course, they've got to determine the need, and that's understandable. But we have very much a chicken and egg situation when it comes to programs offered here at this campus. Sometimes they'll offer something and people don't sign up. Sometimes they'll never have the opportunity to sign up. So we'll continue that, but I think we're in a good place. But I think we need to follow through with that meeting and really talk about longer term building needs and plans at this site. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay, final update is courthouse. The electrician is working this week. Sheetrock should be, they should start hanging that next week, at which point everything's going to move pretty quickly. All the structural work underneath the building involving these 3 rooms has been completed. We got a quote for installing mini splits on the first floor, and that came in at $91,000. That's the next thing. Right now, that's not funded, but looking at the budget and things coming up, that would be the next priority. There is temporary air conditioning in the offices that had the ductwork cut off from it that we're working on now. But it's units have to sit there on the floor, so it's not a long-term fix. But they've been okay so far, but it was also cool last week, so we'll see how that works.
Of course, when you expect those 3 rooms will be completed, timeline,
Saying early to mid-June.
mid-June.
So, yeah. So all the updates I had, do you want the personnel now or closed session?
Can I ask you one question? Where are we at on the, as far as the sale of the jail?
Current bid is $90,000. The new deadline is Friday at 5 o'clock. There are still at least 3 different people who seem very interested who've either submitted bids or come with checks in hand and decide to wait to pass. So there's strong interest. And we'll know Friday where we go. But based on what's happened so far, I think there'll be another upset. But
Okay.
we'll see. Do you want the personnel now or after closed session? How do you want to handle that?
These that you have on our list were the 3 that we discussed at the last meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
For center tenants?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know that we need to discuss those in closed session anymore, do we?
No. Is there anything worthy of discussion, additional discussion?
On that one, there may be. So the next one, no, but that one I'll talk to y'all about.
Which one's that one?
Center attendance. If you could move that to closed session, that would be. Sorry, I didn't catch that at the beginning.
Okay.
We'll just move them all close.
Or I can tell you to do,
Can't do that. Go ahead.
no concerns right now with 1 and 3.
1 and 3 on the list here.
Let's just move it to closed session.
We'll discuss personnel in closed session. Okay.
All right.
See, mine don't show that. Yours shows that done.
You have in your packets the financial report for the month of April. The report has changed that and it lists every single department that we have.
Thought it seemed a little longer.
Darlene, are we looking, we're not gonna have to hold any money for the next few days, are we?
No, no.
Everything's,
No, we're okay, right?
everything's good, okay.
Darlene, just for clarity, moving forward, I don't know who prepares these for you,
I do.
but could we possibly number the pages just for the sake of us older people?
Okay, I will with
Me.
you older people.
When they fall out of his book.
Yeah. And just write, you're just gonna write on his number.
Yeah. Let's put my number to it.
Mhm.
And I did have a question about sales tax. We seem to be about 20% down in that, which is about $300,000.
But now
I
you're
know that
still,
normally trails a little bit behind.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate that?
yeah, because sales tax, the first 3 months, July, August, and September, I have to put those into accruals for last year. So it'll be September before I actually have my full numbers on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're on track.
Okay,
The sales tax that you have for this month is actually February sales tax.
Okay.
That's from the state. It's like 2 months behind each month.
and that's why we're saying 63% on that. Okay. All right,
But we're actually good. Any more questions?
just looking over that. No, I don't have any questions?
Darlene, the landfill fund,
Yes.
the month-to-date revenues and the year-to-date revenues, the expenses add up right to the penny. The landfill expenses, the revenues are different. They're off by about $3,000 month to date and about $43,000 year to date. Do we just add those five? Is it just simply adding those five figures and then you carry that number down to revenues to date?
The landfill has some more small
Okay,
items that I may have missed, but I'll re-add it and see if I
okay.
thought I had them all in there, so.
Anything else for Darlene?
I think I was more focused on getting the general fund, the bigger fund, and all the little departments added in. Okay, next in your packet, you have budget amendment number 10, and I also handed to you earlier an addendum to this budget amendment. This covers some items with social services. Also under management administration, a $25,000 grant that was, I think actually written by Sarah Nichols, that's gonna benefit the town of Hot Springs water system. That $25,000 comes through our office.
And that's from the Pigeon River Fund, by the way.
Okay,
Thank you, man. You
That's
said on
good.
that board. Yes.
Thank you.
that's good.
The unemployment insurance, the state requires us now to set aside an amount based on salaries each year in our budget, whereas before we just received a bill every October, and we would know which department was gonna get billed, and that would be the only money we would put in that department. Now we have to put it based on salary. And we've already paid this year's bill, so this is excess unemployment insurance that we had to budget, and we're gonna take that back now. And cooperative extension, that was lapsed salaries, as well as in social services. And what we're able to do with this money is to fund the technology improvements for the tax collector's office in amount of $148,122.
So Darlene, those credits, beginning with unemployment insurance, if you total the credits, they should match that 148, 122.
Well, no, there may be some more excess, but if you look at the bottom of your sheet, at the totals, the third sheet, all of your debits and credits equal.
Okay,
That's the
But
461.
some of that could be used somewhere on another line.
okay,
That's your 461, 396.
Yes, yeah,
okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. Forest Service timber sales, that is money that we've received in the past. It's been phasing out over the years. That money goes to the school system, $10,863. Increase in clerk court fees, register deeds, and the health department has some changes. And what we're doing with the other amendment is we're adding money for emergency management, for the professional services for the fire inspector, appraisals, and then we're having $3,060 that's needed in the maintenance department for paving of the road leading to transportation and to the animal shelter.
And the 5,000 for the planning and development.
Yes, and that will be if you all approve appraisals for property.
Right, okay. Okay, any more questions for Darlene on the budget amendment 10?
The technology improvements at the tax collector's office, I'm assuming, is the new software program.
It is.
Do I hear a motion to approve budget amendment 10?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gentry to approve budget amendment 10, second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
The next thing you have in your packet is the April property releases and refunds for the tax office.
These continue to get less and less.
Yeah, I see that as the year goes on, the list gets smaller, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Any questions, any discussion for Darlene on this property releases, tax releases? No? Do I hear a motion to approve the April tax release refunds?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Rice to approve the tax release and refunds, second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise.
I got real quick, just the tail end of that report, you got the same person on there about 8-10 times. Do they just pull a mobile home permit every year just in case they need one, or what do they do?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I mean, literally 10 years worth of mobile home
Yeah.
permits right there.
I can check with the tax office and give you an email tomorrow.
I'd just be interested to know. I mean, that's just, to me, that just seems very unusual.
I bet there's not been a mobile home.
that's weird. I don't know what to do with that.
Not too bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet you there's not been one there for 10 years.
Yeah, but why would they get that?
They probably pulled it once and been taxed on it,
That makes sense.
I see.
Yeah.
and the explanations of
Okay.
Next thing, there's our board vacancies.
Hey, can I make a suggestion before we move on? I think even if it's a brief review, I think Lori needs to review these with the county attorney going forward.
I think these,
Those are actually come from
these
tax.
actually come from the assessor's
Assessor's
office
Okay.
rather than law.
But from what I understand is we're not supposed, we can't release back more than 5 years, right? Isn't that what you just said?
That's my understanding. I mean, we can only discover taxes back 5 years, and I think an application can only go back for 5 years for a release or a refund too.
Yeah, that is true on a refund.
Do you know that to be true?
Yes,
It is.
that is true.
So in that particular case,
So if you look at this from 2010 all the way back to 05 on that one,
We should review this.
right,
should be looked at. Yeah.
This needs to be reviewed.
And I don't know, it's hard to tell just by looking at the explanation as to, the only thing that you can go back further on is something that's actually called an illegal tax.
Mhm.
You can go back on those, but the cutoff is 5 years for clerical errors or anything along those lines, so.
can we rescind our last motion and change that?
Under the circumstances, yes.
We already voted,
Well,
so it's been approved.
ruling,
Well, if they
Somebody could, I mean, if one of you, y'all voted for it, anyone who voted on the side could move to.
To rescind
Then
it.
you can rescind it.
I would move that we rescind, excuse me, refer to attorney, excuse me, for review. I think, Donny, this needs to be referred to you for review as part of this motion.
I think a good practice, this is just a suggestion. Only commissioners can do these releases and refunds. Now, you have a lot of these that are on here because of your cards and your,
Right.
you know, more unusual. Refunds and releases in most counties are very, very, very few that are not related to your trash cards.
Mhm.
In Yancey County, we may have 10 a year.
In a year.
And on those, when we have those, we have the tax assessor actually come to the meeting and present the reason for the refund or release and ask questions. And because it's your action that has to, that does it. That's just best practices. And I mean, when you look at these, if you total up for the last year, you probably had a lot.
Yeah.
Just as they were commenting how few
There's
these were.
11,000 on one.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that any of them are improper, but I do not review these. I have nothing to do with them. I mean, if you've got $15,000 a month and you do 12 months, that's $180,000 a year. That's a substantial amount of money.
That's your tax software right there.
Yep.
Would the board like for the tax assessor's office, whoever does these reports, to come those reports, because I don't know the answers to your questions.
I think that would be good.
Yeah.
I think that the tax office needs to have someone here to explain this and kind of give us an update on this.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gentry made a motion to rescind the
Yes, sir.
previous,
Based on
I'll
the
second
advice of
that.
council.
and it is second by Commissioner Weckel on the rescission of this. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise.
Yep.
Now, we need to go ahead and do it again with,
Can we,
It's just looking forward.
is it permissible to just defer this to next
Yeah.
month
That's what I'm.
following legal review?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
yes.
Well, then I make a motion that we table this, the April tax release and refunds. Do I hear a second?
Second.
So,
I have a second by Commissioner Rice for the tabling of the tax release and refunds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
Next is your board vacancies and reappointments. First one is for the AV Tech Board, and Frances Ramsey is the current appointee, and she's willing to serve again.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
At this time, I will open the floor for nominations for the AV Tech Board.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate Frances Ramsey.
Okay. Have a nomination of Frances Ramsey. Any other nominations? At this time, I will close the nominations for the AV Tech Board. Okay, we have a nomination of Frances Ramsey for the AV Tech Board. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay. And as the board looks at the upcoming board vacancies, keep in mind if there's someone that can't serve, that we try to find someone that can before then. Are these,
That's all right.
Forrest, these upcoming board vacancies, are they something that we could do tonight? Or is it something that we need to wait?
You can do them whenever.
What about the two on the library board? Or has anybody talked to them?
I'm not aware,
Okay.
so not yet.
Excuse me.
Mr. Vincent.
I have no problem.
At this time, okay, we'll go on down into the Social Services Board. We know we have Commissioner Gentry and Commissioner Rice here with us, and they were both willing to serve on the board. So let's just go ahead and do that if we can. At this time, I will open the floor for nominations for the Social Service Board.
Mr. Chairman, I would nominate Norris Gentry.
Okay, we have a nomination of Norris Gentry.
One before we get through with the nominations, is this the one that has to be a commissioner? There's two commissioners here, you see. One of them is just a commissioner appointment.
Neither one of them has to be
It doesn't have to be.
for this board. Board of Health has to have a commissioner. Social Services Board has happened to have a commissioner for a number of years, two for the last 2 years.
I thought there's something that.
Yeah, I thought there was one of those that had to be a
Yeah,
commissioner.
and,
Doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to
we
be.
went through this to where the commissioner, his term was up when he went out of office.
Mhm.
And that was a problem. So you're sure that it doesn't have to be a commissioner?
And certain, and that if one of these two is not a commissioner and it coincides with, let's say they go out and I can't count 3 years ahead, but in 2018, if one of these two is not reelected or doesn't run, their term runs until June of 2019.
It does if you specify it. If you just nominate them and you say, well, that's the way it was before. I know law.
Well, we've
That
got,
only holds true if the judge agrees with that ruling in court.
You're aware of that, aren't you?
Yes, sir, I was
You
right
have to
there.
designate, when you nominate somebody, that there's to serve a full 3 years.
yes,
And it really doesn't matter what we do when the judge changes the ruling, and it just doesn't matter. It didn't matter. I mean, that's
In
the
that
truth.
case, it didn't matter.
It did not matter.
in that case, but the term length is 3 years for the record. That
Yes.
the Social Services Board for both positions is 3 years.
And I would say that 3 years is June 30th.
Mhm.
With that.
That's right.
And we have a nomination of Norris Gentry. Do I hear any other nominations for Social Service Board?
I nominate Clayton Rice.
We have a nomination for Clayton Rice.
He's coming up next.
Any more nominations?
I nominate Matt Whitcomb for either one of them. For both of them, I guess.
Okay. Any more nominations?
Fails on the first one, and I'm nominated for the second. I guess we have to wait till we get to that.
You're gonna rub the salt in the wounds twice, aren't you?
That's the way it is. That's the way it goes.
Okay, at this time, I will close the nominations for the Social Service Board. We have a nomination of Norris Gentry for the Social Services Board. All those in favor of Norris Gentry, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Okay. We have a nomination of Clayton Rice for the Social Service Board and the other position. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay. We have a nomination of Matt Wechtel for the Social Services Board. All those in favor, raise your right
Pretty much
hand.
over, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
So, I think it's pretty
over.
much
It's over.
You're taking a third dig at me, aren't you?
Well, you know, Bill was adamant. He nominated you twice. So I was gonna at least get you one vote.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's all that. Thank you.
That's all right.
Second.
That's right. Nothing change things around. Remember the competition, and it's never good to be.
Do I hear a motion that we go into closed session? That's 143-318.11 for for personnel, for personnel and real estate.
Personnel, attorney-client privilege, real estate, and economic development.
So that is closed session for personnel, attorney-client privilege, economic development. What was that?
All I heard was a sigh from everybody.
Okay.
Economic development,
Yeah.
real estate, attorney-client privilege, and personnel.
And personnel. We have a motion by Commissioner Rice for closed session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gentry. All in favor, raise your right hand. We are in closed session.
Same room, gentlemen.
Take the coat off. It started getting hot in here.
Man, did you want to serve on that board? I didn't know you wanted to serve on that board, man.